Garcia for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And again, Attorney General Garland, thank you for your time and your patience with us in the votes. Hey, I just want to touch base. We're having a hard time in LA County right now. We talked about the rising crime rates nationally, but in California, specifically in LA, we're seeing homicides up 12%, property crimes up 4%, violent crimes up, shootings up 9%. I try to make a point of talking to local law enforcement agencies and officers as much as I can, usually, 6 to a dozen a week within my district. Do you get a chance to talk to the lower level officers within local law enforcement agencies much, or do you not get that opportunity?
I do, and since you and I last spoke at our last hearing, I've visited every U.S. Attorney district in California, including Los Angeles. And every time I go, I insist not just talking to the U.S. attorneys, but to talk to, and not just FBI, DEA, marshals, and ATF, but all the local police departments and sheriff departments, because
fantastic. Thank you for doing that. I think that's very important, obviously, to get the pulse on the ground. In LA specifically, we're dealing with what is looking like almost irreparable damage from this defund the police movement. The sheriff's LAPD were in fact defunded to the tune of $100 million or so. Much of that has not come back. The Board of Supervisors has put in place hiring freezes. And we're seeing now our sheriffs specifically hitting about 80 hours of overtime a month, in addition to their regular op tempo, driving them into the ground. If you've been talking to them, you would have heard for sure the issues they have with early retirements. I know Chairman Cartwright, you mentioned frustration with hiring and how hard it's been to bring people into law enforcement and the prisons. I don't think it's cosmic. I don't think it's a mystery. We've mistreated law enforcement over the last couple of years, and we've disincentivized them to stay on the force. We've disincentivized new recruits to come onto the force, and now we have massive retention and recruitment challenges being realized in these major cities. I think this is the source of the crime problems that we referenced. We need to reverse this cultural trend of defunding the police and instead defend the police and back our blue, while holding the bad apples accountable, obviously, and we need to double down on that. In LA County, we also have this problem with our DA, this guy named Gascon. He's behaving like the Penguin from Gotham City almost in Batman movies. He's almost enabling the bad guys to get away. He's choosing not to prosecute. He's choosing not to apply enhancements. And so I would encourage you to look at what's going on in LA. He needs to be reprimanded and anything within your control to help us within that realm. But I do want to touch on this overtime problem. We had an issue with illegal marijuana grows being led by the cartels with indentured servants, people who were smuggled across the border, manning these illegal marijuana fields in my district. You were very intimate with it. I want to thank you, first of all. Actually, we had a 3 levels of government cooperative engagement to help us eradicate as much as we can in LA County this illegal marijuana operation. One of the challenges we ran into, though, is at the federal level, there's a stipulation that says local law enforcement can't charge more than $19,000 a year of overtime to the federal grant buckets of money, right? And I think you're familiar with this. We did ask DOJ specifically through the Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Force Office for relief on that, because what we have in LA, besides a lot of folks hitting this overtime, is massive inflation. We're losing folks. So what was happening is these sheriffs would hit this $19,000 a year cap of overtime, and then they would be rotated out of the marijuana eradication team. We would lose that subject matter expertise and someone who had learned a lesson, valuable lessons over the last year, because they simply hit this artificial cap. It is an artificial and kind of a capricious cap being applied by the federal government. We asked for relief. Long story short is a year later, we get a response from OCDETF, the task force I was talking about, and they basically said, sorry, we can't do it. They literally said a standard national officer, state and local overtime cap is operationally and managerially optimal, meaning this is too hard. I implore you, sir, please help us remove this artificial cap. In LA, $19,000 a year doesn't do anything. We're short on cops. We're not short on crime. We have really major and serious problems with rising violent crime rates. We need to enable our officers. You don't support defund the police, right?
Take a look at our budget. You can be absolutely sure that we don't support defund the police. We're asking you for $8.2 billion in grants that we can give to the police.
Fantastic. That's music to my ears, Attorney General. I'm over time, but I just ask for all the assistance you can with helping us with this cap nationwide. Major cities like New York and LA, $19,000 is woefully anemic compared to what we have as needs right now, given our short staffing problems. And I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. At this time,